Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be talking about cockroaches.
Yeah, those unwelcome house guests that nobody wants to see.
Exactly. And we're going to be talking specifically about bleach,
Right, because a lot of people, I think, when they see a cockroach, the first thing they think of is, oh, grab the bleach.
right? Under the sink, super strong smell. It's got to kill anything, right?
Exactly. It kills germs. It's got to kill roaches, too.
So we're going to be looking at whether or not that's actually true today in our deep dive, and we are going to be using simple pest management as our source.
Yeah, they're a really great resource for all things pest control.
For sure, if you like this content and find it helpful, please like and follow us. We'd really appreciate that.
And be sure to check out Simple Pest Management on social media.
Yeah, they got a lot of great information and tips over there. All right, so getting right into it, um, bleach. I mean, it can kill cockroaches, right?
Well, yeah, that's what Simple Pest Management says it can kill them, but there's a pretty big caveat to that.
Yeah, what's the catch?
Direct contact.
You got to get them right,
You got to drench them.
right in the face.
Yeah, basically. And the thing is, cockroaches are really good at not being seen, right? They love to hide
Oh, yeah, they're masters of that.
in those little cracks and crevices behind your baseboards, under your appliances and the walls. You're never going to get that full coverage with bleach in those places.
Right, so it's like you might get lucky if you see one out in the open, you know?
Right. Maybe scurrying across the floor.
Yeah, but the ones that are like, back in the nest or whatever,
The source of the problem.
they're protected.
You're not going to touch them with bleach.
And it's not just about where they are, it's also about, like, their biology, right? Like, what makes them so tough?
Absolutely. They have this incredible exoskeleton.
Yeah, like armor.
Yeah, it's like this super tough, multi-layered shell made of chitin and proteins, and it's actually really resistant to a lot of chemicals, bleach included.
So it's not just that we can't reach them with the bleach, it's that the bleach might not even be that effective if we did reach them.
Right? Bleach works by oxidizing things, and that exoskeleton is really good at preventing that from happening.
So even if you do get some on them, it's not necessarily a guaranteed kill.
Exactly. You really need that full coverage for it to be effective.
Okay, so that's the adult. What about like eggs, though? Even if you get the adults, aren't there always going to be more?
That is a really important point and something that Simple Pest Management is very clear about. Bleach does absolutely nothing to cockroach eggs.
Really?
Nothing. Those eggs are protected by something called an ootheca.
Say that again?
Ootheca, Ootheca.
Ootheca.
Yeah, and it's basically like the super durable little case that the eggs are encased in.
Like a little cockroach egg fort.
Exactly. It's usually made of this hardened protein, and it's waterproof and chemical resistant, so bleach can't penetrate it at all.
So even if you, clean your entire kitchen with bleach and you think you've gotten everything,
Yeah, you wipe out all the adults.
there could still be these little ticking time bombs just waiting to hatch.
Exactly, and then you've got a whole new generation of cockroaches.
That's so frustrating.
It is, and it's why it's so important to think about the entire life cycle of the pest when you're trying to control them. You can't just focus on the adults, you have to get the eggs too.
Right, and bleach just doesn't cut it in that regard.
Nope, not at all.
Okay, let's talk about the smell, though, for a second, because I know a lot of people think that even if bleach doesn't kill all the cockroaches, maybe the smell will at least keep them away.
Right. It makes sense. It's such a strong smell, you'd think it would be at least a deterrent.
Yeah, but what does simple pest management say about that?
Well, they basically say that cockroaches are way tougher than we give them credit for. They're not really bothered by strong smells. They can survive in some pretty disgusting environments.
Yeah, they're not exactly known for being picky.
Exactly. They're found in sewers and garbage dumps. They can handle a lot more than just a little bit of bleach.
So you're saying that the smell of bleach is not really going to faze them?
Not really. They might not love it, but it's not going to send them running for the hills.
And speaking of sewers, a lot of people think that if they have, like, drain roaches or something, they can just pour bleach down the drain, and that'll solve the problem.
Yeah, that seems logical on the surface, right?
Wait, get right to the source.
But Simple Pest Management actually advises against that.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, for one thing, it's probably not going to be very effective because, again, the main cockroach population is probably not living in your drain.
Right, they're in the walls and stuff.
Exactly. They might be coming up through the drain, but that's just one entry point. The drain itself is not the heart of the problem.
So you're not really getting to the root of the infestation by pouring bleach down the drain.
Right. And on top of that, you could actually be causing some damage.
What kind of damage?
Well, bleach can be corrosive to pipes, especially if you're doing it regularly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, And it can also create some really nasty fumes, especially if it mixes with other cleaning products or organic matter that might be in your pipes.
So it's not just ineffective, it could be dangerous too.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about like, seeing a cockroach here and there.
Yeah.
What about like a full-blown infestation?
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of cockroaches, does bleach become a more viable option?
Unfortunately, no. Simple Pest Management says that bleach is just not a good solution for a serious cockroach infestation.
Like no matter how much you use.
Right. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with German cockroaches, American cockroaches, or any other kind, bleach just isn't going to cut it.
Why not?
Well, it all goes back to those limitations we've already talked about. You're not going to be able to reach the majority of the cockroaches with bleach, and you're definitely not going to kill any eggs.
And when you have an infestation, you're talking about a lot of cockroaches and a lot of eggs.
Right. It reproduces so quickly, and they can hide in so many places. It's just not feasible to try to eliminate them one by one with bleach.
It's like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon.
Exactly. You're never going to get ahead of the problem.
And on top of all that, it's not even safe, right? Like we talked about the fumes and stuff.
Right. Bleach is a really powerful chemical, and it can be dangerous if it's not used properly.
So let's talk about the specific safety risks. What are some of the things that Simple Pest Management warns about when it comes to using bleach for pest control?
Well, the main thing is the fumes that bleach produces.
Right, that strong chlorine smell.
Exactly. That's from the sodium hypochlorite, which is the active ingredient in bleach. And it can be really irritating to your respiratory system.
So you could end up with like coughing or breathing problems.
Yeah, exactly. And it can also irritate your skin and eyes.
And it can also contaminate surfaces, right?
Absolutely. If you're spraying bleach around your kitchen, you could end up contaminating your food or your countertops.
So it's just not a good idea to use bleach for pest control. There are too many risks, and it's not even that effective.
Right. There are much safer and more effective ways to deal with cockroaches.
Okay, so let's talk about those alternatives.
Yeah.
What does Simple Pest Management recommend if you want to try some DIY roach control?
Well, one of their top recommendations is boric acid.
Boric acid, how does that work?
So it's a powder that you sprinkle around areas where you've seen cockroaches, and when they walk through it, it gets on their legs and bodies, and then when they groom themselves, they ingest it.
So they eat it, basically.
Yeah, and it messes with their digestive system and causes dehydration.
Oh, so it's like a slow kill.
Yeah, it can take a few days, but it's very effective.
Okay, what else do they suggest?
Another good one is diatomaceous earth.
Diatomaceous earth. Now, that one I've heard of, but I don't really know how it works.
So it's made from the fossilized remains of tiny aquatic creatures called diatoms.
Oh, wow. So it's like a natural product.
Yeah, it is, and it works because it's very abrasive at a microscopic level.
So it's like little tiny shards of glass.
Kind of, yeah. And when cockroaches walk through it, it scratches up their exoskeleton and causes them to dry out.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like a physical attack rather than a chemical one.
Exactly, and it's very effective.
Okay, so I've got boric acid and diatomaceous earth. What else?
Well, they also mention a classic homemade remedy, baking soda and sugar.
Baking soda and sugar. How does that work?
Well, the sugar is the bait. It attracts the cockroaches, and then when they eat the baking soda, it reacts with the acids in their stomach and produces gas.
So they basically explode?
Well, not exactly, but the gas builds up and they can't expel it, and it can be fatal.
Oh, that's kind of gruesome, but hey, if it works, it works.
Right, and it's a very simple and inexpensive solution.
Okay, so those are some direct treatments.
Mm-hmm.
What about prevention? What can people do to make their homes less appealing to cockroaches in the first place?
Yeah, that's really important. Simple Pest Management stresses the importance of sealing up any cracks and crevices in your home.
Like around pipes and windows and stuff.
Exactly. Cockroaches can squeeze through some really tiny spaces, so you want to make sure there are no easy entry points.
And what about food? Cockroaches love food.
Right, so you want to make sure you're not leaving any food out that could attract them.
Like crumbs and spills and stuff.
Exactly. Clean up spills, promptly store food in airtight containers, empty your trash regularly, all that good stuff.
And they also mention natural repellents, right?
Yeah, things like peppermint oil.
Really? Peppermint oil? Does that work?
Well, some people believe that it can help deter cockroaches. They don't love the smell.
So you can make a spray with peppermint oil and water and spray it around.
Exactly, yeah, around entry points in areas where you've seen cockroaches.
Okay, so lots of good DIY options there. But even with all that, there are times when you just need to call in the professionals, right?
Absolutely. If you've tried all the DIY methods and you're still struggling with cockroaches, or if the infestation is really bad, it's time to call in the experts.
And what are the advantages of hiring a professional?
Well, they have access to a wider range of treatments, including some really effective stuff that you can't buy over the counter.
And they also have the experience and the knowledge to know what's going to work best for your particular situation.
Exactly. They can identify the species of cockroach you're dealing with, and they can tailor the treatment accordingly.
Plus, they can do things like, treat those hard-to-reach areas that we were talking about before.
Right, and they can also give you advice on how to prevent future infestations.
So it's definitely worth considering if you're having a serious cockroach problem.
Absolutely. Peace of mind is worth a lot.
Okay, so let's wrap things up. What's the bottom line on using bleach to control cockroaches?
The bottom line is that bleach is not a good solution for cockroach control. It might kill a cockroach if you hit it directly, but it's not going to get rid of an infestation, and it can actually be dangerous if it's not used properly.
So put down the bleach and try some of those other methods that we talked about.
Exactly. There are much safer and more effective ways to deal with cockroaches.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us.
And be sure to check out Simple Pest Management on social media for more great tips and information on pest control.
See you next time.
See ya.
Bye.